We haven't touched on style. That's culture a lot in the podcast.
So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because that is a huge part of this time frame of the 90s. It's got to be peak. Wouldn't you say, Tommy?
Definitely peak Tommy. Yeah.
Tommy jeans make a scene.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast, coming at you from the Slice on Oak Studios. I, of course, am Mayor Dave Badeaux of the city of Brainerd, and with me, as always, is my brother.
Mostly washing machine from the chest down.
Yeah, we said you were gonna say more stupid stuff. We need more stupid stuff.
I said I need to say more stupid things, but I'm apparently not that capable.
No. Anyways, over there is Gabriel Johnson, the councilman himself.
Dave, how are you?
I'm excellent. Are you ready to do?
Let's go.
Yeah, 1998.
Been there.
Let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Be Kind Rewind. 1998. So we're going to get started right away, as we always do, with the music of 1998. Gabriel Johnson, take it away. What do you got for us?
I was planning on closing it out with mine, but we can start it.
Well,
I have closing time.
that's not the one I thought you were going to go with, but we can go right to closing time.
Closing time.
Let's talk about it.
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out.
Semisonic.
Okay.
Minnesota band.
Yeah, Minnesota.
I did not know that.
Classic ballad.
Yep.
Bars shutting down. Go home.
Every single bar for the last 30 years has played it at the end of the night.
It was written while his wife was pregnant, and he wrote it as a song about exiting the womb.
Okay, well, that changes a lot.
It's about his firstborn child.
Wait a minute now.
Excuse me? A baking powder?
I don't know if I'm on board anymore.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, go with this now. So
you used to be from your mom's vagina, and now you're here.
But why? Why, mate? Why?
Why was because they were playing 5 nights a week in Minneapolis. They were the big band at the time. They played the same closing song every single night, and they were sick of it. And they're like, "Hey, write a new song to close out the set with, please."
Yeah.
And his wife was pregnant. He's like, "Okay, I've got an idea here."
You don't want a fish sandwich?
and he also, I remember seeing an interview with him one time where he was talking about the song, and it was that it's such a cliche that somebody has their, they start a family, they have their first child, and then all their songs become about their family and their child.
Sure.
And so he had to write this song, but sneak it past his own band members. So even they didn't know that that's what it was about.
Okay. But still, it's about your kid coming out your wife's vagina. That's
finish up your whiskey and beers.
We call that being born.
Yeah,
the miracle of birth.
That's not the way he wrote it. He did not write it as the miracle of birth. It was like, hey, you can't fucking stay here.
Yeah. You don't have to go home.
Get out. All right, yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. I knew about the Minnesota stuff. I knew that they were playing it locally, and then it just blew up and took off.
It didn't just blow up and take off. They illegally paid radio stations $700,000 to start playing the song. And then it blew up.
That's neither here nor there. That was par for the course. We're talking 1998 here.
Yeah.
That's par for the course.
So they paid to make it famous. It got famous, and it's still famous because it's a good song.
Absolutely.
It's a good song.
If you can't pay money to make something famous, then what country are we living in?
I thought this was America.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to throw money at this until it makes me way more money.
Yeah.
That's capitalism, baby.
It's capitalism, baby. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's a good little ditty, and I've heard it 1,000 times when the lights come on, get the fuck out of the bar. That changes the way I feel about that song now, knowing that it's about the lights coming on as you're coming out the vagina, but okay, good for you.
Closing time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end.
What'd you think I was going to start with?
Oh, I thought you were going with Britney Spears.
Britney Spears is on the list.
Just straight up Britney Spears, just as a, hey, that happened.
Britney Spears showed up in 1998.
Britney Spears did show up in 1998.
Had like more hit singles and sold more albums in the first 5-6 years for her career than any artist ever. And then things got a little weird.
Things got a little weird. But kind of skyrocketed that whole thing with, she was the start of the Christina Aguilera's, Jessica Simpson's, Mandy Moore's.
Yep.
Britney Spears was the first of that.
The female solo artist to counteract the boy band craze that was happening at the same time.
Yeah. Because we looked it up. 98 you would think would be peak 98 degrees. Turns out it was.
Turns out there's no such thing as peak 98 degrees.
No. However, NSYNC had their
Debut album.
as well. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Scott has been referred to as the Justin Timberlake of the ghetto.
Of the ghetto.
Of the gutter is what I meant to say, but I said ghetto.
Gutter
what
trash
a
JT.
dump.
You know, NSYNC happens, Britney Spears happens, NSYNC and Britney Spears happen.
Backstreet was back.
I didn't know they left, but they came back. Didn't know they were gone. Now they're here.
But they announced they were back,
They're
and
back.
my 7-year-old still listens to it, so they're still around.
Yeah, Backstreet's Back is a banger. Good song.
It is interesting though, because like music like that is very well crafted because it's
made in a factory.
It's made in a factory by talented people. Let's say that. Like the people that create boy bands are talented. They know what they're doing, and then they spend a lot of money making sure it gets on the radio. But they're very, very talented. So those are. I mean, you can't talk about 1998 without bringing them up at least, right? I'm not saying I'm going back and jamming to Britney Spears all the time, but you can't talk about where we're going without understanding that, okay, now for sure we're here, right?
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but now I am.
What's up?
I went back to 1998 and jammed to Wyclef Jean.
Okay.
Gone till November.
Can I tell people what happened before the podcast
Is
started?
that who that was?
Yes.
God, I guess I only knew the guy's name. I didn't know what he did.
But yeah, I thought I liked Wyclef Jean. Before we started, Gabe said, "Do you guys know the song? What is
Gone
it?
Till November.
Gone Till November." And I said, I don't know. I know Wyclef Jean, but I guess I don't remember for sure. And you had said that.
I was out to lunch earlier listening to 98 music just to get ready for the cast, and I was with my 21-year-old daughter who had to listen to that song.
was forced.
As parents are known to do.
She told me like a minute in, "Dad, this is a bad song." And then like 30 seconds later, like, "Dad, seriously, I'm getting angry. This song is terrible." And then I started listening to the second half of it differently, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is a bad song.
This song might suck.
Maybe this is a bad song.
Gone till November, I'll be gone till November. You tell my girl I'll be gone till November.
I agree. It's a bad song.
It's not. It's not a great song at all.
I just love that you started to play it, and I was like, I think I remember this. And I was like, no, I don't remember this at all. And it needs to stop. It needs to go away. Backstreet can be back. This needs to go.
Out of here.
Yeah, go away.
January, February, March, April, May.
I want to just bring it up real quick before we jump into the rest of them that we talked about. But 1998 is the second year of ska, which for some reason we did not talk about the summer of ska, which was 97.
Which is a travesty.
It's an absolute travesty because Scott and I are obsessed with ska. And 97 was the summer of ska.
Oh, absolutely.
But 98, I'll allow it because 98 starts in January, and ska was still happening in January. This was the before the summer of 98 is when they thought, hey, you know what else is just like ska? Swing. Yeah.
Squirrel nut zippers.
Oh, yeah.
Zoot Suit Riot.
And that's why I want to talk about it, because ska is amazing. Swing is dog shit. And swing just swooped right in and tried to take it up, which makes no sense because The Mask came out in 95, right?
Yeah.
But there's plenty of zoot suiting happening in 95.
Yeah.
Enough so that the music should have, we should have been moving on past the swing into the ska.
It took a couple years.
It did.
And the bare naked ladies showed up and fixed it all.
So let's chat just real quick about ska. Favorite ska band? Go.
That's a loaded question.
It is a very loaded question.
It's real tough. I mean, Real Big Fish is great. Less Than Jake, Mad Caddy. I can go on for way too long.
Catch 22.
Which is also Manifesto.
Yes. Yeah.
The Mighty Mighty Boss Stones.
So I will say
they got to be up there.
Mighty Mighty Boss Stones was kind of my start of it. I think the impression that I get 97.
I will get murdered if I don't mention Operation Ivy.
Okay,
Since
yeah.
they are like the first third wave ska band.
Yeah. Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, I got way too into it. All the albums, all that stuff. They were around though because they were in the movie Clueless.
Yes.
So there's 2 songs, and they're actually in the movie. They're the band in the movie as well.
Yeah, Real Big Fish was in Basketball.
Yep, which is coming up here in a couple of years. So ska still had its legs, but 1998 is right before people decided that it wasn't popular again. It was popular for one summer, and people decided it wasn't popular again. They made a mistake.
Yeah, people decided this is too much fun.
Yeah, well, I think ska is better on the fringes, being more of a punk scene than being the mainstream.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if that's what everybody was listening to, nobody would ever get anything done.
It is, well, and it is, I think the thing I love about it is it's the happiest music with the most depressing lyrics.
Yes.
It's all terrible things happening. It's never pleasant. There's never a like, hey, rays of sunshine and whatnot. No, it's depressing set to the most upbeat music you can possibly have. So, and I mention it because this was when my friends and I were getting all of these punk and ska compilation albums. So, God, I wish I could remember what they were all called, but they all Punkorama, and there's just tons of
There
these.
was always the Punk Goes Country or Punk Goes Crunk. That was the one from my high school time.
Yeah, so a ton of fun with the ska. So just to throw that out there, if you don't know what ska is, get your life figured out, because almost every song that you've ever heard has a ska version, and I guarantee it's better.
It's better.
Yep.
Shying away, I'll become a player running away.
So let's wrap it up real quick. We had talked in movies of Nicolas Cage that in 1998 the movie City of Angels came out, which includes
the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yes.
Which is 1A of best movie tie-in ballad of all time.
yes.
To the 1B,
I could spend my life.
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Yes.
By Aerosmith.
By Aerosmith from the movie
Armageddon. Great movie. Who did that? Who did that? Was that Michael Bay?
No, well, it's Jerry Bruckheimer. Michael Bay, I might be the director. Jerry Bruckheimer is the producer. We talked about this before. Sure. So it has a Jerry Bruckheimer feel. The rock.
Oh man, could you imagine if Nick Cage played
Yes,
Bruce Willis's part?
I can.
That would be such a not as good a movie, but way more fun.
He should have played Ben Affleck.
That's what I was going to say.
There you
He
go.
was perfect for Ben Affleck's part. But
Just
yeah,
the wild card.
so we'll talk about the movie Armageddon next week in the movie edition. Stick tuned for that. Stick tuned for that. However, Goo Goo Dolls' Iris, I 100% agree. Wow, what a fucking song. What a song. Followed by the other hit off their album as well.
Was that Slide?
I believe Slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a
Why
couple
don't
of them
you
though.
slide?
There's a couple of them. Get out there.
To this day, I know that's the Goo Goo Dolls, and I'm pretty sure it's Matchbox 20.
Yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive.
Heard that at in the Arby's lobby last week.
Hold on. What now?
I just mean that every time I hear the song
okay.
Slide, I think I'm listening to Matchbox 20.
I called it Matchbox 20.
Okay.
And then Mary Googled it, and it was the dolls.
All right, well.
Some people call them the Goo. I call them the dolls.
I call them the sex maggots.
Throwback to last episode. I also now will refer to them as the sex maggots from now on. Speaking of Armageddon, Bruce Willis, End of the World. I got a little bit of music info here, but we're going to push that all the way to the end because there's a little video game called Apocalypse starring Bruce Willis.
On the PlayStation.
On the PlayStation, but we're going to wait. We'll save that for the end of the episode. So,
Okay.
But there's a music tie-in to that is the reason I want to talk about that game. So,
Okay.
All right, let's wrap it up for music there. Let's move on. Gabe, take it away with the news of 1998.
What blew up?
There were bombings.
If we've learned anything about the 90s, every year has a bombing.
So somebody was mad at the United States.
Happens.
How dare they?
Every year.
Yep.
This year, it was a fella named Osama bin Laden.
Heard of him?
He
Did some things later on.
August 7th, he bombed the U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya. And we said, we want this man. He is a wanted man.
Yes.
Way out of line. Don't bomb buildings.
No, don't, especially our buildings.
Yep. The Afghan government, some refer to them as the Taliban,
So we have learned such.
caught him and put him on trial for bombing these buildings. And the court found that he was, quote, a man without sin.
Wow. Whoa. He's Jesus?
Let him go. And maybe we'll talk about him in a future
I
episode.
don't know. We might come back around to Osama bin Laden.
Well, I can't imagine why.
No, never. Oh, really? A man without sin.
Man without sin.
Well, praise be.
What?
It's the
How
Taliban.
can you say that?
It is a bit much. It is a bit, but that's
It's a little over. You could say he's not guilty.
Yeah, yeah. OJ was not.
sin.
Yeah, OJ was not guilty. If OJ's trial ended with "This is a man of the Lord Jesus,"
Yeah, this man is God.
never even coveted another man's wife. Anyways, all right. Well, moving on from bombings.
Let's go from bombings to pies in the face.
Yes, please. Yes.
So in 1998, Bill Gates of Microsoft fame had a meeting in Germany for something or other. And as he was walking in, he got pied, smashed in the face with a pie. And the assassins came back, and 2 more pies in the face. He got pied 3 times in 10 seconds.
So you say that because you're making reference to the way that the news covered it.
Yeah, they covered it. So there was a Dan Rather clip I found on YouTube, and he covers it like a national tragedy, like it's like a 9/11.
Yeah, like he got shot. Like he literally got shot.
Police and security guards in Belgium were caught flat-footed today by a cowardly sneak attack on one of the world's wealthiest men. The target was Microsoft chairman Bill Gates, arriving for a meeting with community leaders. Watch what happens when a team of hitmen meet him first with a pie in the face. Gates was momentarily and understandably shaken, but he was not injured. The hit squad piled on with 2 more pies before one of them was wrestled to the ground and arrested. The others, for at least the moment, got away. Gates went inside, wiped his face clean, and made no comment. He then went ahead with his scheduled meeting. No word on the motive for this attack.
He took a couple cream pies to the face. They may have even been shaving cream. It was real.
Okay,
light.
but if you're in Germany and you're taking cream pies to the face,
9 today.
9 today.
9 today. Yeah, the overreaction of it is just amazing. Like,
And Bill Gates does not handle it very well.
He does not
Holy
have
moly.
fun. He acts like he got shot.
Yeah, it's like, you ever seen those videos when somebody throws a piece of cheese on the cat's head and they just they just seize up and don't know what to do? That's what Bill Gates looked like. He just froze.
why is this happening?
Because you're Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Why did it happen?
I didn't
Did
research
they catch
that.
the perpetrators?
Yeah.
98 was when he was on trial for antitrust stuff with Microsoft and being too successful and whatnot.
Yeah, it's interesting then that they were attacking him for being successful. Now, maybe we should attack him for buying up all of the crops.
And being evil.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe. Maybe
We don't want to eat bugs, Bill.
Yes, Bill. Please. We'd like to just have farms. That's all we want. Not asking for much here. Just that we can grow crops.
Please.
Anyways, you had also brought up the Olympics. Let's just talk about Olympics just real fast.
Real quick, 98 Olympics. You know, we talked about the 92 Olympics where we added the NBA players so we could get a gold medal.
Yep. And so this is when they finally split and started doing winter and summer separate. So 96 summer, 98 winter.
98 Winter Olympics, Nagano, Japan. We aren't good at the Winter Olympics.
We're not.
We're not good downhill skiers. Nope. We're not good at skiing and shooting at the same time. Like, if there was a winter war, I'm betting on Norway.
Yeah.
I'm betting on Sweden. Like, those countries can shoot while they're skiing.
We just move our border down.
Yeah.
Like, we're gone. We're Canada.
Yep.
Sorry. Minnesota's Canada now. You draw the line somewhere around Missouri.
But in 98, we decided to add some games. America somehow just gets their way on everything. And we added curling, snowboarding, and women's hockey, of which we've dominated for the last 25 years.
Yep. Yeah, it is funny because this is right after the X Games started.
Mm-hmm.
So X Games become pretty popular. Olympics are like, yeah, we got to get in on this. And then we're like, yes, you do need to get in on this.
Yep. Yes, please. We could feel good about ourselves with some gold medals.
Yeah.
And then a Canadian won the snowboarding, and then we took it away from him.
Because he got high.
Damn you, Canada. This was for us.
We talked about this briefly, and I'll throw in my SNL bit right now because this was peak SNL from the late 90s. It's the transition from your mid 90s with Jim Brewer and Tim Meadows and stuff, and then switching over to your Jimmy Fallon. So Jimmy Fallon, Horatio Sanz, this is the beginning of that. Mm-hmm. There were two things that they covered heavily. They covered the Olympics, and then the very next topic, which is...
I want to say one thing.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
So before we get to Bill Clinton, though, I do want to mention that in 1998...
I want you to listen to me.
They invented Viagra.
Before we get to Bill Clinton.
Just to give him an excuse. Listen, the man, he couldn't help it.
Just to set the table. So we have Viagra.
I found out recently that Viagra works for women, too.
Oh, it's a lady.
Yeah, I suppose.
What if their boner lasts 4 hours? Who do they call?
I'm going to say this again.
Bill Clinton.
I need to go back to work.
So anyway, Bill Clinton, 98, was an intern.
Molesting.
I was going to say, I was wondering where you were going to go with that.
Raping. I don't know.
Where's your definition?
There was a bit of a power dynamic between the intern and the president
and the leader of the free world.
The 21-year-old, I believe, unpaid intern. And the president of the United States.
For the American people.
But it turns out Bill Clinton fucks.
Well, it technically doesn't fuck. I mean, I'm assuming probably did.
Maybe didn't Monica Lewinsky, but
no. Oh.
Many women.
There's a trail.
Well, did he come or what?
There's a trail.
Of tears?
Yes. Actual tears from this man. Yeah, but the Monica Lewinsky thing is crazy because going back to SNL, it's half of every episode was just the Monica Lewinsky stuff, which at the time was funny, but that stuff, if you go back and watch old SNL stuff, all of the current event stuff is the least funny.
Except for Weekend Update with Norm Macdonald and O.J. Simpson.
Well, and that's jokes, right? Whenever they do like their cold openers and stuff, it's not really jokes so much as it's referential.
Right.
You know,
so the Clinton stuff plays as well then as the Donald Trump stuff is going to play in the future, or some would argue played at the time.
I skip it most of the time now because I just don't think that it's that funny, but that's all they did. They just beat that into the ground. But there is plenty of humor to be had from it. Her talking to a friend on the phone and then recording it, and just there is some real interesting stuff that gets said involving cigars, cigar tubes, the dress that then gets taken from her that has the stain on it. Like there's some actual.
It wasn't a stain because she didn't wash the dress.
So
it was not just crust.
So I was going to say it's not a stain. It's just they call that splooge. But it is just humorous when you think about it is the president of the United States, and the things that were said about it are outlandish at mildest.
You'd be mad at a frat boy for doing that.
Yes, yes. And then the whole thing with
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
And then to come back to, well, it depends on what your definition of is. Your definition of is.
It is.
Well, you used it in a sentence to define what you're saying. I think you understand what the definition is.
You've got a grasp on the word.
Yeah. But yeah, just crazy. We don't need to beat that any further. But I will say, like, it's amazing to me. Like, people just wanted to defend that because it is us versus them. I like that we're now far enough along where I hope that you, as individuals, can look back and go like, hey, way out of line. Way out of line.
Way out of line.
Way out of line. So, speaking of way out of line and sexual encounters, that 70s show premiered.
There you go.
Let's go right into that.
Big fan of Danny Masterson.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that so much.
Okay, yeah, actually not.
No.
Yeah, dial that back a little bit.
Dial that back. Let's talk just real fast about that 70s show. It was a big hit and very, very interesting at the time, right? The hiding the marijuana usage, but yet not hiding it, like it using the smoke and the smoking as a inside joke was pretty cool. I will admit, as a kid growing up in the late 90s.
Yeah, that's how you had to handle it in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's actually better than just showing people smoking pot. That's boring.
Yeah. Well, and then every once in a while they'd show the parents doing it as well, right? So everyone was in on the joke, but hey, we're not going to say it, but at the same time, they're all high the whole time. It's the 70s. Yeah. Solid show, though.
Great show.
Yeah.
I loved that show.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Same.
Haven't seen it in 20 years, but
Really? We went back and watched it.
I've seen some clips.
Yeah.
That are quite humorous.
I went through and watched the whole series on Netflix or whatever. Yeah. Last year, maybe. It was one of those things where it's like I was out of stuff to watch and I was just like, yeah, we'll watch this and just pounded through it. It's pretty funny. It actually holds up. It works because it's kind of like, and I'm not saying Happy Days would hold up because I don't think Happy Days would hold up, but it's like Happy Days being about the 50s, the 60s? Is it 60s?
I think it's
like
50s.
Late 50s, right? Yeah, late 50s, maybe early 60s. But it's the same idea. It's like a show that's about a different era, which makes it topical.
I think Happy Days holds up.
Probably
until at a point it really jumped the shark.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So,
which, if I'm not mistaken, that was actually like they went on to continue to be really successful after that. So even the jumping the shark moment in their own show wasn't actually jumping the shark.
Yeah, that happens. Moving on from that 70s show, let's just keep going with TV. So just super quick, Sex and the City debuted as well. HBO. I know of Sex and the City not from having HBO because we didn't actually have HBO. I know it because my ex-wife got every single DVD season of every single DVD season of every single DVD season.
All of them.
I will say this. It's not a terrible show. I've watched a lot of television with significant others. There are a lot of shows like Grey's Anatomy. I know that a lot of women like Grey's Anatomy. I can't stand it. I can't watch it.
It's like 20 seasons.
It's
some
really,
people have to like it.
Callie watches it. Callie's on like her 6th lap through. She's just always has it on her phone. She'll put it on her phone while she's cooking, all these things, right? Just hanging out. Everyone else is watching a show, and there's Callie on her phone watching Grey's Anatomy. But Sex and the City is one that I will say that it was okay. I didn't mind it. And here's why I didn't mind it. Titties.
Oh, yeah.
As a young man, young husband and father, you got to sit down and watch some TV with your significant other. Let's have some boobs every once in a while. So it went. And the show is not bad, I will say. I have not watched it in 20 years, well, maybe 15 years. But I remember at the time thinking, yeah.
As a teenager, I was disappointed in the show.
Okay. Not enough boobs?
Titties? I'm expecting sex.
Okay. There was not a lot of sex. Not a lot of sex in that city. And I will say, I watched
That's why I want you to give it to me straight. What are you giving me?
I think I was watching it in like early 2000s, so mid 2000s maybe. All right, let's move on from that. King of Queens, just throw it out there real quick. Any thoughts on the King of Queens?
That's a pretty good show.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Introduced us to, the man himself.
Patton Oswalt?
Yes, it did.
There's a scene in that show with Patton Oswalt where he doesn't move for like 3 minutes. Like everybody's hanging out in the living room, and then somebody moves from the living room to the kitchen, and then back from the kitchen to the living room, and the camera changes and everything, and people are moving around and doing stuff. And if you watch it, you can even see him in the background when they go into the kitchen. He's just standing there. not moving at all, standing completely still for like 3 minutes.
So you're saying this now, and didn't he do that on purpose?
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember this story now. He on purpose just completely
try to be as frozen as possible for as long as possible.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it made it into the show.
Yep. Yeah. I completely forgot all about that. That's crazy. And I didn't even remember that it was from that show.
Yeah.
We'll have to go back and find that clip because, he on purpose said, can I get away with not actually doing anything?
Yep. I'm going to show up and not do a fucking thing for this entire scene. Literally nothing.
That's good.
And it aired.
Yeah. It's a very Patton Oswalt thing to do.
No, I remember it may have been Sinbad's Rockin' Halloween.
Okay.
Rockin' New Year's Eve.
Yeah. No, Dynamite.
New Year's Eve. But I remember a Kevin James stand-up shortly before King of Queens. He did a stand-up bit on one of the New Year's Eve shows, and I thought the dude was just hilarious.
Yeah.
Like a great, the entire set, absolutely phenomenal. And then he got a TV show, and I was really excited. Like, man, this guy's got a
funny,
TV show now. I wasn't a big fan of King of Queens.
Well,
it's really fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's really boring. And then a couple of jokes here and there that some of them land, but it's a show about a UPS guy, and it's about as exciting as it sounds.
He is. It's not like there are other shows where they have a job, but you don't ever actually like see them do the job.
They get home from work.
Yeah. No, you're watching him deliver packages. This is a part of the show. We are working with Kevin James.
Not getting things.
That's kind of the problem with a lot of that stuff is you get these comedians that get picked up to do a sitcom and then you're like, oh yeah, but the reality of a sitcom is what it is. So Bob Saget in Full House is a fantastic example. Super dirty comedian gets a gig on a sitcom and
being the OCD dad.
Yep, and then that just becomes who he is. You know, and I would do it.
I'd take the money.
I'll take the money. Speaking of sitcoms, I got one really quick. Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place. You guys remember Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place?
That tells me what's happening.
There you go. Straight to the point. What's this show about?
We've established Gabe likes shows that explain to him what the show is.
Unless it's Sex and the City,
Yes.
because that's a lie.
Well, it's not telling him what it is. It's saying it is what something. That 70s show
The
says.
city is a character. Sex is not.
No, not so much. Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place was something that I remembered really, really enjoying. And then the only reason I bring it up is that it is Ryan Reynolds, and I don't know if it's his debut or not, but it is the first time that he was just in households.
It might not be his debut, but it's the first time anybody saw him.
And I watched a couple clips quick before we came over here, and I was actually surprised that, it is his Van Wilder character for the most part. Like he's kind of one of those actors that it's Ryan Reynolds, right? Mm-hmm. Even Deadpool, it's Ryan Reynolds. Waiting, it's Ryan Reynolds, right? But it's such a lovable.
It's like Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Nick Cage is in this.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is in that.
But the couple of clips I watched, I was like, okay, this is actually, it's him. And I could see myself watching that just for that part of it, where it's like, I would watch Ryan Reynolds make a pizza. Mm-hmm. Whereas Kevin James, I'm not sure I want to watch him deliver packages.
Funny you say that, because the thing I most remember from his stand-up bit on New Year's Eve was about making a pizza.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, why didn't he do that?
He was doing just a big slapstick bit about being an Italian guy making a pizza in a pizza place.
Yeah. Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place. I believe, just from the clips that I watched, I believe he was a med student, and so kind of the bit is that he's working at a pizza restaurant. I don't know that for sure. I only know that because of the 30 seconds I watched.
Okay. Where are you in this rotation? I've got last names V through Z.
I'm here, Dr. Peel, because you're the best. Everyone knows it, and I should not be deprived of a superior education simply because my poor name grew up on the wrong side of the alphabet.
I see. Well, unfortunately, that's not the way it works. A through F is with Dr. Gordon.
I know, but please, you can't make me go back there, okay? The man is dead, and no one's notified.
I remember at the time thinking this is a really funny show, and then as he moved on in his career, being like, that's the guy from Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place. So
sure,
I call him the guy from Wrexham.
Okay, all right.
From Wrexham?
Yeah, the soccer team that he owns.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Wrexham.
Damn near kills him.
There we go. Speaking of killing, celebrity deathmatch.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk real fast just to end up our TV bit here. Celebrity deathmatch, interesting concept.
Pretty fun.
Cool.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
That was one of those things that I got to watch if I went to a friend's house.
Okay.
My parents didn't know I was watching it. The only one I remember, like an actual match, was Zach De La Rocha of Rage Against the Machine.
Wow. Okay.
Versus The Machine.
Who won?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
The Machine always wins. Yeah. It's much like The Wall. Pink Floyd's been fighting The Wall for
I thought you were
decades.
gonna say tennis players.
No.
You always lose to The Wall in tennis.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Mitch Hedberg joke.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
a good one.
Seems like it. Go deliver some packages. Celebrity Deathmatch, really interesting. MTV, Claymation. They pick two celebrities and they fight each other. And much like SNL, it is the referential stuff. You know, it's you kind of got to know who this character is because most of the jokes are the things that they do
And what they were famous for
Yes.
at that time.
Yes. But they do it in a way that is still humorous because it's characters, right? So it's almost like having a special move that is something that you've done. You know, like
Yeah, like if you were Bill Clinton.
what would it be?
Miss Lewinsky.
I would have gotten to Mike Tyson.
I'm pretty sure Mike Tyson was in there.
I'm sure he was. I keep thinking Michael Jackson and Bubbles, like that type of thing. I don't know if that actually was an episode, but it probably would have been.
Michael Jackson's like a dark Bill Clinton.
Sexual relations.
Jesus. Jesus. I remember Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman being in that because this was the year that they got married for 9 days and got it annulled. He actually got it annulled. So he got caught in bed with two girls and said something along the lines of, I don't know who they are, they just fell from the ceiling.
Which is probably true.
No idea. And then he actually filed for the annulment 9 days later. So I do remember that from Celebrity Deathmatch. But just a lot of fun, like over the top gory, but it's clay.
Yeah, surprisingly gory.
Yeah. Well, not for the time. I think 98 is right when we're edging things up.
I mean, a little bit. There was like Mortal Kombat and way earlier Doom, I guess.
Yeah, but it's clay.
Sure, but it's still guts and entrails being ripped out of people.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
That is true. Great show. I would agree. You said this before we started. That's a concept that should come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I would watch that.
Yeah,
For
it's got legs. It reminds me of the celebrity rap battles.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the epic rap battles of history.
Epic rap battles of history. That it reminds me of very similar to that.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Only with clay and more
And
violence.
deathmatch.
Yeah.
Not rap battle.
Okay, let's bring this episode to a close with the last category here. We've got toys and games. So I've only got one thing on the list of toys, and it is the Furby.
You like furry things.
I'm sorry, did you say Furby?
Furby.
Furby.
The Furby is an interesting toy in that I don't know if it was actually a toy.
What the hell did it even do? It blinked at you it knew when you were in the room, and I think it just like talked to you, said some pre-recorded messages, but also you could record things onto it so it would say them.
It was weird.
Yeah, my grandma had one in one of the hallways in her house. So you're walking through this dark hallway on the way to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden,
an animatronic owl,
just starts chirping at you. And it's like, oh, this thing sucks.
Did they ever get sued for clearly ripping off gremlins?
Oh, that's what I was just going to say. It's basically a gremlin. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they ever did.
Mogwai.
It has a beak though. So that's how they get away with it not being exactly the same, but it's exactly the same. So what I remember about it, one of the kids in the family, so it had to have, I thought it was you, but you said it wasn't. So it had to have been a cousin, got one at Christmas, and I remember the adults sitting around trying to figure out what this thing was because it's the big thing. And you turn it on, and initially it has complete gibberish, and eventually it just, and I'm sure it's just on a timer, slowly releases actual words. So it's supposed to be learning your language, but I can't imagine that it was actually learning your language because they've just been running around saying fuck in the hallway.
It was not.
Night. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I guarantee your grandma's only heard you say fuck every time it scared you.
I just want to piss.
But yeah, slowly over time it would learn language is what it was supposed to do. But yeah, I remember it being one of those things that like showed up. It much like the music, someone paid a lot of money to make sure that people thought this was the thing that you wanted, and then it just kind of was a thing. Then they made a comeback about 10 years ago as well. I remember my kids wanting a Furby at some point, and it still sucked. Now it had a digital face instead of animatronic face.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would say no to Furbies. The only thing I let spy on me is my very cheap, very big television.
Very cheap. The cheapest television of all time now. $100 will get you a great TV. However,
it's spying on you.
But of course, with toys comes the next category, which is games. No board games that I saw that kind of stuck out, but video games were...
Yeah, I think we go into a dead zone for board games for like the next 20 years.
I think so, yeah. I think you're absolutely right.
98 to 2018,
yeah,
maybe 2014 or something.
I think
when they blew up again.
Then it blows up. And
like really blows up.
Yeah, I think they were convinced for a while that electronic board games were the way to go, and then they realized, no, that's dumb. Electronic Battleship is just Battleship, only annoying. And then they did like the Tamagotchis and the Furbies, and then they realized...
And then they made Mario Party.
Which is
a board game.
Is a board game, yeah. Which came out in 1998.
Absolutely.
So let's do that real quick. We've got the N64. We talked about it a little bit. Came out in 96, 97. The year 1998 is when you're hitting full steam.
Yeah.
So you've got Zelda Ocarina of Time.
A consensus greatest video game of all time.
Well, you said...
You'll see. I think it's Metacritic's top-rated game ever.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a list of the greatest games of all time, your number one is either Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda, or the very original Super Mario Brothers. That's kind of...
But if you had a list, you would put 3 different Final Fantasies on the top of it.
I would put 6 different Squaresoft games from between 1992 and 2001.
All crammed into number one because it's always number one. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on Ocarina of Time and continue to, sadly. I'm a man baby. And
it's probably been over a decade since I played it last, but I should go through
It's been a while, but I beat it again on the Wii. So I beat it on the 64 when I got a Wii.
Yep.
Ocarina of Time was one of the first games I got with it.
Yep.
Played it again.
It's available on Switch now on their online service. So I have played a good chunk of it on that as well. I got to a point where I couldn't remember what to do. And
it's the fucking water temple.
The water temple.
The fucking water temple.
I didn't get to the water temple. And that's kind of why I stopped. Is I was like, I already don't know what to do. And then the water temple's coming.
Now I have to go to the water temple. No.
Yeah. But great game, fantastic little story, reinvented the way that games are played in a 3D space, much like Mario did. Fantastic. And then right alongside it on the N64 are 2 games that I really enjoy, Banjo and Kazooie, which is a lot of fun, but 1080 Snowboarding.
1080 Snowboarding makes me mad.
Okay, why?
Because it was a great way to do a snowboarding game.
Yes.
And nobody's done it that way since. Even 1082, which came out on the Wii, I think.
1080 Avalanche.
Yeah.
Came out on the GameCube.
Was it GameCube? Okay.
Was it SSX? That was maybe better.
Well, which is funny because SSX 3 is the greatest snowboarding game of all time.
Okay.
And it's a different concept of how you do your moves in that game. But in 1080, it was all button combinations.
Sure.
It was like a fighting game.
Yep.
It's like you go off a jump and you have to do these button combinations.
That's how Tony Hawk did it. That was perfect.
Yeah. Well, no, that was more holding a button and pushing a direction. This was like
right and square makes you do this. But on 1080, it was like, if you want to do a 180, you got to tilt the joystick this much and press this button. If you want to do another 180 degree turn. So if you wanted to do a 1080, which I never actually accomplished.
You had to circle around.
What you had to do, you had to
Then
move
your
it
guy
and press
stopped
button,
in the
move it,
middle.
press it. So you had to it was just a constant you got to this.
It's true.
To get it done. And it was really fucking hard
It was really
to land
hard.
a 1080.
It was very hard to land a 1080. And then SSX came out, which we will talk about in 2001 because I love that game as well. But then it came out and it was like, this is just a cartoon.
Now you just push a button and you're doing a 1080.
Yeah. Yeah. But the problem with that, though, is that you do a 360 and your guy would stop and then start another 360 and stop and then start another 360 and stop. But yeah, fantastic game. Very, very cool. It was more about racing than it was necessarily about the tricks. The game had a lot of speed.
Because the tricks were way too fucking hard to do.
Very fucking hard to do. But I will also say this: this is peak Tommy Hilfiger, and it was right there in the game. It was branded with it, and they did not let you forget that they were right there on the game.
We haven't touched on style. That's culture a lot in the podcast.
So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because that is a huge part of this time frame of the 90s. This is probably, it's got to be peak. Wouldn't you say, Tommy?
Definitely peak Tommy. Yeah.
Let's talk about Tommy real quick. So in the 80s and in the early 90s, you had your Z Cavaricis.
Your what?
Yeah, you remember the Z Cavaricis?
Clearly not.
Yeah. And then you had your Jordashes. But the problem they always had was that in those years, everybody was tucking their shirts in. But by this point, there ain't a kid that's got his shirt tucked in.
My son, I think I shared this already.
I don't think so.
My 7-year-old, I was watching The Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls, and he saw a guy with his polo shirt tucked into his jeans. He's like, that guy has his shirt tucked.
So this was the end of shirt tucking. The end of shirt tucking. But when Tommy first came out, it was on the belt loop. There was, because it's a flag essentially, and it was on the belt loop. You would actually put your belt through this leather patch, and then there was the Tommy flag on your hip essentially. But there wasn't a single kid that was tucking their shirt in. I'm convinced that the whole carpenter jean thing was just so that Tommy could have another place to put their patch.
The logo down by the knee.
They put it down on the hammer belt or the hammer loop. I'm convinced that that's the only reason that whole craze even started. And then that went into cargo jeans after that. So
cargo jeans. Holy moly.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, absolutely.
I have never
cargo pants.
They were cargo pants, but they were. I had a pair.
You had a pair of denim cargo pants?
We called them the 40s.
My cargo my cargo pants were all made of cargo pant material.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we called them the 40s. They were size 40 because I wanted them to be the biggest pants I could ever find.
Big pants.
They're size 40.
Yeah, and because it's the only size you could make a denim cargo pant.
They were Tommies. They were Tommies. They were denim. They were size 40. And then you would just sit, because I was a skinny little kid in 98, cinch that belt nice and tight. And so it was like wearing a Jinkos only as a Tommy's. But I'm pretty sure, I may be incorrect about this, but I'm pretty sure they were cargo. I'm pretty sure they had pockets.
I mean, now that you mentioned Jinkos, that does sound like
Jinkos had pockets on the side.
Might be some cargo denim.
Yeah, Jenko definitely.
I'm telling you.
That's a whole different. It's a whole different category though, because they're damn near parachute pants.
Anyways, though, I'm convinced that,
but they weigh like 60 pounds because they're made of denim.
And then they got wet, and then they weighed 300 pounds.
Is it Jenko or Jinko?
Jinko, yeah. I think I said Jenko, but Jinko. Nothing I say is correct. But yeah, I'm convinced that the whole reason that the carpenter pant came along is so that they could move that logo. I'm not sure about that. I can't say that it is 100% a fact.
I buy into the theory.
But if I had to look back on the situation, because I remember getting a pair of Tommies and being like, nobody's ever going to know these are Tommies. They're never. And then partially I was kind of happy about that.
Get the ones with the big Tommy on the rear pocket.
Yeah,
so everybody
yeah.
knew. You got to make sure people. I spent $100
Yes.
on these. You better fucking know it.
But part of it though was actually kind of nice because you're like, they can't tell that I'm not wearing them because nobody can see my pocket. So I'll just wear a longer shirt. That's probably why long untucked shirts became a thing, to hide that you weren't wearing Tommies. All right, so moving on from 1080 snowboarding, any final thoughts on that? Just a great game.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Great game, and of course,
Great game. I may not have played it.
You wanted to bring up one from the PC though, Gabe.
Yeah, Half-Life debuted in 1998 from Valve Corporation, and that was kind of redefined the first-person shooter. It kind of, I don't know if it invented, but it created what we use to this day as the first-person shooter format, and that was Gabe Newell, and then later rolled into creating Steam, which is how many of us game on our computers nowadays. We use that platform to buy all of our games and play, and just the start of a big thing.
Sort of a very big thing, and we had said before we started as well that specifically the game Halo, the way it starts off and the calibration of how you move and what you do is straight out of Half-Life 2. Like the whole idea, like you wake up and they're getting you calibrated, and really it's learning what you want to do in terms of like inverted, not inverted, which is not even a thing anymore. That is peak 1998. Everything was inverted in 1998, no longer.
Nothing is inverted. It's all not.
I think it's mostly non now. Because I remember
Fortnite is not inverted, and it bugs me because I like the inverted control.
I was an inverted guy. But yeah, but then it would calibrate and teach you how to move your head, how to move. At first you're locked in a thing and you're moving your head around, and then eventually it lets you out. So a very clever way of telling a story and getting you included in the controls. And it started with
doing a tutorial without you knowing you're in a tutorial.
That's exactly right. And
everybody skips the tutorial.
Yeah. Yep. And if it was just a wall of text, that's not an interesting way to have a story. And this was one of the first examples of just having a story that is just coming along with you instead of the Ninja Gaidens of the world, where we're now watching the cutscene to tell me what the batshit story is. Yeah, it's a great one. I got one last one to finish things off, to wrap everything back around to music as well. I said I was going to talk about it. 1998 is the very peak of Dave Badeaux's obsession with Bruce Willis. Obsessed. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter if it was a movie. If it was,
rivals his obsession with Dennis Rodman.
Very much so. Very much so. Listen, I'm a man that gets hyper into things that I'm into.
It's good to have an interest.
It's good to have an interest. So at this point, I was consuming all the Bruce Willis stuff I could get my hands on. And then I learned that they're making a Bruce Willis video game. And so much so that the title of this game is Apocalypse on the PlayStation. And at the top it says starring Bruce Willis. That's the first thing you say, starring Bruce Willis, and then Apocalypse. This game, Activision signed a multi-million-dollar contract with Bruce Willis to have him have his likeness and voice in some games. And this is what came out from it, which is not necessarily, I believe, what they were hoping to have happen.
A bit of an E.T. situation.
A bit of, however, it's actually a really, really fun game. It is made by Neversoft, which is the group
Tony Hawk
that the very next year comes on with Tony Hawk. So this is pre-Tony Hawk Neversoft, and it is actually a pretty fun game. It is not a great game, but it's a pretty fun game. It is a dual stick, kind of like Robotron or Smash TV.
I was exactly thinking of Smash TV.
It's exactly what it is. It's one thumb moves your guy, the other thumb shoots in 4 directions. Bunch of dudes come out, you mow them down. However, it's Bruce Willis.
Merry Christmas.
And, so,
and he's just dropping quips the whole time.
Nonstop. And he's got some good ones. You said that the one stuck to you.
Yeah, kill them all. Let God sort them out. That one still pops into my head to this day.
My favorite one is there's a specific item that you pick up in the game, and he says, strap one on, it's time to jam.
Strap one on, it's time to jam.
What the fuck does that even mean?
It's Bruce Willis. It doesn't matter what it means.
It doesn't matter. I went back and watched some behind the scenes stuff because on the game itself there was a behind the scenes like DVD thing, and so it shows them mocapping Bruce Willis, and it was the first time they had ever mapped someone's face into a video game character in terms of like this level. At least that's what they claim.
Okay.
In their own words.
Well, to this level.
To this level.
So it just means they got one polygon more than the last person did.
Yeah, because GoldenEye did the same thing, right? 2 years before. But they claim, right? However, they also have, it's got all the dots on there like they're still using, right?
Was it Pierce Brosnan in GoldenEye?
I'm convinced they just took photographs.
Yes.
And took pictures of the photographs and then just
that's exactly
essentially stapled them.
That's
to
exactly what it is. It is the equivalent of me taking a freaking staple gun and stapling a printout.
Yeah, like
of
Ryan
Pierce
Reynolds,
Brosnan's face,
like Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool when he has Hugh Jackman.
It is exactly the polygons and everything. But no, it is Pierce Brosnan in GoldenEye. They were trying to get all the other Bonds as well, and they couldn't get the licenses for the rest of them. But in this game, so there is a behind the scenes of this, and they got Bruce Willis in this room and they're mocapping, and then you put it side by side to what the game actually is, and you're like, what a waste of fucking time!
He's this big in the whole game because you're just this tiny little avatar shooting all these guys, so it didn't need to happen at all.
They are showing all this stuff of him like with a gun and doing all this stuff, and look at how it translated, and you're like, for the love of God. However, the thing I want to bring up with this game is that there is a section in it in which there's a big, huge jumbotron.
Is it like a music video?
And it's music videos. And I remember two of the bands. One is Poe, which I was not familiar with at the time. Poe, the lead singer of Poe, ends up being a bad guy in the game. I think she's supposed to be your ex-girlfriend or something. She ends up being a bad guy. Okay? Hold on, though. Hold on.
Kill them all. God, sort them all.
But it's also apocalypse.
Yes, this is a future version of the world in which religion and science are all that is. You are a scientist with a gun.
Like Half-Life.
There's a religious guy that has created the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You got to go mow them down. You get to this part.
This doesn't sound like my kind of game.
It's a lot of fun. You get to a point.
It sounds like your kind of game.
It sounds like 1998.
It is 1998, like you wouldn't believe. You get to a point where there is a jumbotron and there's music videos playing. And one of the music videos starts off and says, "Praise God, pass the ammunition. God wants you to go to war." And then just a fucking banger starts playing. And I was so fucking thrilled by this because at this point you weren't getting music like this. This is the beginning. This is before Tony Hawk, where, you could do CD quality music, but they weren't incorporating it into games like this.
No.
Where this is a band, an actual band on my TV with a music video playing, telling me to fucking go kill everybody, and then me doing that. Turns out the band is System of a Down.
Oh.
I went and bought the album for System of a Down because of this video game.
Huh.
I heard that song and was like, that is the greatest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I need to have it. Sadly, in the album, they don't say, "Praise God, pass the ammunition. God wants you to go to war." I was so disappointed. However, I bought that album specifically.
Song was it?
War.
Oh, of course.
I think it's War with a question mark, maybe. War?
Probably.
War? I'm pretty sure you just laid it out. It's war. So if there's a question mark, I don't know why it's there. But yeah, that experience was something really, really unique. You've got Bruce Willis, you've got the guys that go on to make Tony Hawk, and you've got System of a Down, who at that point, nobody knew who they were. And actually, I remember playing System of a Down and having people go shut this off, because it's it is a unique experience listening to them. And then the same dude that I remember telling me to shut that shit off was Brandon Cizik, by the way. 2 years later, we're driving in a car, and he's singing all the words to these songs, and I was like vindicated. But what a unique experience. It was the first time that I had anything like that happen, where I was like, I need that. What is that? I need that. And it was a music video in a video game, because that wasn't the experience at that point. So, and it all became because of Bruce Willis.
Praise the Lord! Pass the ammunition! God wants you to go to war!
All right, that's it for 1998, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys? What are your final thoughts?
I forgot to bring up a TV show.
Oh yeah,
it's the American debut.
Oh yes,
of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
Oh yes,
yes.
One of my favorite shows of all time.
You have watched every bit of content from the original part of that. Maybe not the new stuff.
No, not too much from the British version or the Aisha Tyler stuff. Just Drew Carey. Everything Drew Carey, I've probably seen all of it.
All of it, plus all the bits that didn't make the air. You want to talk about hyper... Yep. I was into Bruce Willis. You were into all the things were Brian Styles.
Brian Styles, not Wayne Brady.
Ryan Styles.
Ryan Styles.
And Colin Mockery.
Colin Mockery's great.
Yeah. When they pull people out of the crowd to do like the sound effects, and they have to act along with the sound effects, like that.
Yeah, a great bit.
It's just a great show. It's just constant. Just tip your you have to be quick witted like crazy. And some of the hardest moments that I've laughed in my entire life.
Yeah. And it's maybe the only like actual true improv show that's been on television. Right? Like they've got a lot of sketch comedies, but not like total improv right in front of you.
Yeah, and you can say like, The Office kind of is improv as well, but not like this. Not, here's what you need to do. You need to do this. Do it now. Yeah. It's a phenomenal show. Watched a ton of that back in the day and then continued to watch it. And you consumed every bit. I'm not kidding you. I know for a fact that you have consumed every single morsel of that show.
Yeah, that was Thursday nights. Thursday nights up in the parents' bedroom, me and mom. Every Thursday.
Yeah. The secondary thing to that is some of that behind the scenes stuff or the stuff that didn't make air is Ryan Styles just getting pissed off at the actual concept.
Yeah, because they do the hoedown song at the end, and at one point, one of the outtakes, something that didn't make it to air, is it gets to Ryan in one of the songs, and he says, "If we do another hoedown, I'll slit my fucking wrists." And then he's the last one, so everybody else has to go, "Slit my fucking wrist."
If we do another hoedown, I'll slit my fucking wrist.
That didn't make it to the TV.
No, and that's the way to end the episode for sure. And there's a ton of that too, where he would just say really inappropriate things just to make it so that the whole bit didn't work, just to be a dick. Which I would get so tired of that guy. If I was an actor with him, it's like, dude, come on, man. Now we got to do it all again. We got to start the entire thing over.
You're being paid to do this. Just do it.
Please do it. Kevin James is delivering packages. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of 1998 in terms of all the other stuff. But we've still got 1998, the movies, coming up next.
I don't want to miss a thing.
Which is Part 2. Speaking of Part 2, Ryan Styles is in Part 2, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Really?
He is in Hot Shots Part 2.
He's no idea.
He's one of the main characters in that. So next week, we will be back with Part 2, which is the movie reviews from 1998. We got a ton of movies. Obviously, Armageddon is going to be on that list, and there's a lot of other stuff. We talked about a couple. We talked about Armageddon. We talked about City of Angels, and there's a bunch of other stuff. I don't know why you're making that face, and I'm not going to
entertain it.
I'm not going to entertain it. Okay, what?
The 7th movie that pops up when I type in 1998 movies is a movie called Fat Hag.
All right. Anyways, and with that, we're done. I knew not to turn to you. I knew the face, but I could have just cut you out of it and just been done, or I can let you do it. Okay, sure, yeah.
It'll just have to be a one long beep.
Yeah.
What do you want about beep?
points to Ryan for giving the censor something to think about. Nobody is funnier when they're pissed off than Ryan Stiles, buddy. Nobody.
I didn't know we could say f***ing all this time. All good?
Yeah! Do it again. More. Hey, and the bonus is we get to see Ryan slit his fucking wrist. Slit his fucking wrist.